Hey folks, welcome back. My name is Aaron, and this is Major History. Last time in this series was a world civilization lecture, and this continues to be one. Now, last time was part two. This is part three. Uh, Last time we talked about um, the Stone Age and the separation between the Paleolithic and Neolithic periods, and we talked about some religious complexities in some of these early societies that were beginning to develop. This time we're going to be talking about the rise of civilizations and what to expect from the discipline of studying civilizations, the sort of themes that you're going to expect as well. So, firstly, we're going to be talking about the agricultural revolution, also known as the Neolithic Revolution, which started around 10,000 BCE, which we touched on last time, but I feel like now is a good time to cover the rest of it. So, with the agricultural revolution is basically, in my opinion, the start of civilization as a whole. Whether you're living in a village, or just in a small tribe, or you're in a big city, agriculture is at the center of it all, and you need surpluses to develop specializations. So the first thing that these people do is irrigation. So these people will live near rivers or bodies of water and divert that water to fields, and which will allow them to water their crops. So this was incredibly helpful in decreasing famine and the reliance on rain. People were not relying on the weather anymore to get crops, and much that made it much more reliable to have large fields um, of wheat, barley, all these different types of things that you would be growing at this time. The next is iron. So we at this point we also see, I know it's also the Stone Age, but it's kind of the early beginnings of the Iron Age as well. And with iron, people are developing the plow, which allows them to till the soil, rotate the soil, sort of getting a little bit of that fertility back from the soil. And another thing as well, with iron in the plow also comes animal muscle, because as you see in this picture right here, there's a person with the plow attached to the animal, and they're basically using the animal's muscle to they domesticate the animals for their muscle, and with the plow, cattle and horses were used to till the fields. So that's also very important because it takes a little bit of the labor off of the people and makes it much more efficient and reliable to get crops. All right, next we're going to be talking about river civilizations, and some important ones that are out there are Mesopotamia, aka Sumer, Egypt, the Indus River Valley civilization, and China. These civilizations were all founded on rivers, which allowed water flow and easier diversion of water to their crops, as you see um, in that bottom image. And some other major civilizations here, just in case you wanted to see: Sumer, Egypt, India, China, Mesoamerica, including the Olmec, the Toltec, and the Maya. And then Greece and Rome are also civilizations that did that. Now, we're saying civilization a lot here, so I think it's important that we define what a civilization is. And what that is a lot of people define it as life in the city. If you're living in a city, you are certainly in a civilization, but I will say that there is uh, some gray area before then when that becomes a civilization. So you start to think about agriculture, as I said earlier, and economy. So these people would uh, build these agricultural societies where they're having surpluses of food that they can't possibly eat for all of themselves, so they start to store it. Um, and they also will begin trading both locally and um, and long distance, and that's sort of where centralized state systems sort of come into play. You have these centralized areas of population and trade centers that will start to develop from this as well. So that could also be something. All right, so now we're going to get into some central themes in the study of civilizations. And I think the best way to start off with that is to start with the natural environment. The natural environment, as seen in this photo, everybody starts off with a river of some kind, some sort of trees around the area, a lot of wildlife, game, fertile land, and geographical determinism. And that's a big phrase to just say that the geography of the area surrounding a civilization will determine the essential characteristics of a civilization. So you'll see in China that they have rice and they have direct access to this little cove right here, and that's an area where civilizations will start to develop. And basically that sort of idea where the land area around a place and the sort of people that will communicate with each other will spread ideas around, and also the different kinds of activities that these people will do. Climatic changes and regular floodings. Mesopotamia in particular, or the Sumer civilizations, the Tigris would, I know for a fact, would constantly, like year by year, change its like direction of where, not change direction like north to south or anything like that, but the water would be diverted in a different location. So like the river would move side to side, determining on the year, and both the Euphrates and the Tigris rivers were incredibly prone to flooding. That's something that these people would have to think about and account for over time. So next you would have natural constraints, which are, let's say, mountains preventing you from going a certain way, stuff like that, just like geographical changes and natural things that get in the way of progress or moving from place to place. Environmental changes, let's say in the summer it's too hot to move around, a little bit less trade or something like that. And then there's a depletion of natural resources. So over time, especially in Mesopotamia, that's just what I'm learning about right now. So I'm sorry for giving so many Mesopotamian examples, but Mesopotamia was not just one central civilization. There were many, like multiple city-states, and they would eventually bicker over resources and become warring cities. And we'll talk about that next time in my Western civilization lecture. So next is political, economic, and social systems. With the economy, which is what we're going to talk about first. Agriculture, markets, and trade. We've talked a little bit about that already. Political systems, you have theocracies and monarchies. And I forgot to put in here, but there's militaristic society, dynasties that will emerge at this time as well. And we talked about this in the religious determinism last time as well. Religious complexity unit, or whatever, I guess. We talked about how religion is incredibly important in determining which people had the power, and then monarchies, that's basically just power spread down or trickled down by like genealogical or lineage, just based on lineage. And then we have social organization and kinship. So we also talked about last time where smaller civilizations had kinship as a core of their whole society, but now you have it in these sort of smaller areas, just located in homes, and you would make tribute to a god or something like that. So those two things are very much present in these early those two things are very much present in these early civilizations. Next is emergence of specialization. So with so much food, with a surplus of food, you don't need as many farmers. Now, I will say at this point, most of the population, about half of people in these larger cities, are subsistence farming, just farming for themselves and their own families. But When you get to sort of the center around temples and stuff like that, the jobs get a little bit more specialized in that people are building, or they're creating clothing, or they're creating they're pottery people. They create pots, and maybe they're a cook for their temple or something. Um, but yes, the emergence of specializations is especially important during this time. Oh yeah, here. So here's some examples: rulers, priests, warriors, merchants, artisans, and farmers are all certain sort of specializations. Next we have material and intellectual productions. So that's going to be public works projects such as agriculture, irrigation, roads, where everybody has to come together and create, like roads and irrigation especially are large projects that have to happen in order for their civilization to thrive. And next is technology, including metallurgy, or working with metal, and tool making. That's something else that's especially important. Systems of knowledge such as writing, mathematics, astronomy, and medicine. Those are other sort of specializations that are coming into fruition, sort of trades that people are starting to get into because they have more time on their hands. And these are more for the wealthy people that can afford to not farm for a minute. And then you have arts, which includes sculpture, painting, music, literature, and theater. These are for the especially rich folk who are not necessarily contributing physically to their society, but culturally they are creating a lot. And then next, you have civilizations as worldviews. Now, what is a worldview? And that's a way of knowing the universe. I realize I don't say thinking about or anything like that. And then there's and a way of knowing the universe, including mythology, religion, cosmology, philosophy, stuff like that. And the religion and philosophy will essentially become the basis for these civilizations. Science, society, politics, and art. When you think about Rome, or you think about Greece, ancient Greece, you think of these things. You're not necessarily thinking about their agricultural practices. Okay, next you have nomads and barbarians, and this is going to be the last slide of discussion. So with this, you have to think about the relationships between nomads, also known as barbarians, and these are the people that were hunting and gathering before, that resisted city life. They resisted the idea of sedentary life. So these people were still around, but people who lived in the city were more privileged, and they had access to more knowledge and whatever, and started to think lesser of these people, think of them as barbarians, because eventually these people would invade and have assaults or strikes on these cities when resources out and around those cities become less plentiful. And with that comes the rise of empires, because you have a developing culture of war. So these cities would band together against these barbarians and sort of assimilate them into their culture and create these large empires. And with barbarians is the rise of militarism and imperialism, especially in places like Egypt, Assyria, Persia, Greece, Rome, and China. And also, you have the international trade and the spread of ideas, but also epidemics. So with trade comes a lot of common ideas being spread, but also at the same time, or also more wealth, but at the same time you're also having the spread of diseases, which are detrimental to certain populations. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video. Let me know what you guys thought of everything that I had to say today. I got a suggestion from my father, actually. He told me that I should try talking a little bit slower which I tried to do in this video, so let me know how well I did in the comments below. Let me know what suggestions you have. Also, the best way to support this channel is to like or subscribe to see more, because next time we're going to be diving into Western civilization, and we're going to be talking about a little bit of early civilizations and diving a little bit more into Mesopotamia and how a different perspective on civilizations as a whole. So yeah, if you want to be notified of that, I would recommend hitting the bell notification for all notifications if you don't want YouTube to decide, well, what notifications are being sent to you. But other than that, that's all that I have for you guys today. So yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.